Alright, welcome back to Ray Elvis Photos. We're going to do something a little different today. Now, y'all know I do comment videos quite often. And once again, I hope you enjoyed the reading earlier of Jeannie and Elvis. Had to do with Linda Thompson as well. But we just recently did an in-depth conversation with Mike Stone, the first episode. And when we talked, I asked Mike to be open to do more. And so we're going to go read some comments. Now, this is just comment was from Sandra Bladen1271. And she said, made it to the end. Mike, what a beautiful poem. So if we were trying to do some sort of a vote for Mike, vote for not Mike, which we're not going to do, it would be 1-0. I can tell you that reading through the comments like I always do, I try to heart, I try to like, sometimes in advance, sometimes when I do these comment videos. I can tell you that overwhelmingly, the majority of comments about Mike Stone, they were very positive. And when I say very positive, I mean, well, we're going to read them. So the next one, Regina, this was kind of like, this is someone that still does not like Mike Stone. And I don't even know whether she watched this video or not. That's the one thing. She may have just left a comment on the channel, didn't watch the video because she has predisposed opinions, I guess. And when I say opinions, you know, you're going to hear me say this more and more and more. We all have a right to have an opinion. That's why I don't take away negative comments. But it's got to be an informed opinion, in my opinion. Regina says, I can't listen to him, excuse me. Taken away, own family, Elvis's daughter with that P.S. Now, Priscilla, I guess, piece of something maybe. Awful. Poor Elvis and Lisa. Compare with Lucy. Now, I don't know whether she's saying compare with Lucy as in that she was much better, that she didn't do anything like that, or Regina doesn't like Lucy as well. Let me know if that's you. Leave a comment later on. Carol Price, 9473. Sorry, but this is nothing new. Most people who practice martial arts at his level think the same. They believe in themselves and Eastern practices and mysticism. Martial arts are extremely disciplined, both mentally and physically, learned from centuries of thought, rituals, and history. Also, the idea of be your best self is not a new concept. I believe I don't know if I responded to you or not. None of this is a new concept in this world, but some people hear it for the first time, and they hear it through different avenues. And then sometimes the wording of it all, so you can understand it, is a little different, you know. So, Jerry Strunk says, Joe, I enjoyed the interview with Mike Stone. I believe Mike has spent much time in reflection of his life, just as we all should. We all make poor choices at times in our lives, and we all learn from our experiences. Some good, some we aren't proud about. Now, Mike sounds like a very kind, wise man. Made it to the end, M-I-T-T-E. So you watched all hour and 44. Appreciate that. You definitely have an informed opinion now that you watched all of it, along with maybe other stuff you've watched. And Super Sean. Also, Mike has suffered from his own mistakes, as we all do. So we have no right to wish harm in any way to him. Super Sean 47331 also said, thank you, Mr. Stone. I would love to learn more about your spiritual journey. So, you know, so far as we're going through the comments, there's a couple that are the nays, and there's a couple that are the yays. You know, we're not trying to say what Mike went through back in 1974, 75, 73, 72, 71 perhaps, I don't know, we'll have to ask him, was right. But we're talking about his interview right now. At Super Sean 47331. And once again, back there, we all have done stuff that is not right, that we're not proud of. Super Sean says, I do not believe Priscilla was honest with Elvis. I think she wanted to be the star and saw Elvis as her ticket to fame. In a weird way, she was jealous of Elvis. Appreciate that comment. A face in the crowd, 1983. Chuck Norris is the real deal. He's really nice, but deadly proficient in martial arts. And of course, I believe that Mike Stone knew or knows Chuck Norris, and I'd like to ask him about that in our next interview, and perhaps about Bruce Lee as well. and I shouldn't say interview, it's really a conversation. That's really what I want to have. Like tonight with Billy Stanley. It's going to be a conversation. I will have some questions to ask, more than I did with Mike. Mike, I just wanted to have an introduction of who he was. A face in the crowd, or who he is now, I'm sorry. A face in the crowd says Mike was manipulated too by Priscilla Bobblehead. Priscilla Bobblehead, I'm sorry. Donna Obrey, 3496. My opinion has changed of Mike. Obviously, probably means to the positive. Well, Donna, I'm sure Mike appreciates that because, you know, his philosophy, I think, is that everything we put out there, negative or positive, affects everybody else. And I can see his belief in that. And I believe some similar stuff as well. You know, I mean, it's chain reactions, right? What do they say, 6 degrees of separation? I believe 6 degrees of separation separates everybody in the world. I'm not sure if it's 6, could be 12, could be 15. But even a smaller number, under 100, is pretty likely that you're going to affect somebody else. Brandy October 5923. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I really enjoyed this interview. Well, Brandy, I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on here, and I think I said, well, I hope you, when you get a chance, you watch more, because you might not have made Mike Stone's poem, which is a very well thought poem. It was his first poem ever, and if I remember right, I don't know how old he was, 42 maybe. He's gonna have to. I'll have to go back and watch that, because a lot of times these conversations, I don't edit them. I don't want to edit them. I want to leave them as they are. I could make a mistake. Mike could make a mistake, something he regrets saying. But I think when you're speaking, hopefully for the most part, besides flubbing a word, you're going to say what you mean and mean what you say. All right, at Tiny Bubbles, great conversation, made it to the end. So this was just a day ago. So these are the most recent, I believe, comments. So as we continue to read through these, you'll see, okay, once again, a day ago, Helena Meza-M6W says, I will send. I couldn't figure it out. It had to be translated. Maybe leave it again, Helena, or Helen, sorry. And maybe I'll understand what you're trying to communicate there. At Chanel Falacoa, he was bewitched and pursued by Prissy. Now, we do have the book. I didn't bring it downstairs with me, I don't think. But the book just came in. His book, My Life with Priscilla and Lisa, I think it's called. We are going to read it. Apologize for the cost, but... All right. Truly loved Mike's wisdom and spirituality. Also by Chanel Falacoa. So, Chanel probably left hopefully I'm saying it right. Left a comment and then left another one after watching the whole video or most of the video. Connie Lindsay, 1247. I think what Mike says is very interesting, and it's definitely something to think about. Nice man, definitely. Would have liked a bit more Elvis chat if I'm honest, but still worth a watch. Made it to the end. So you watched all hour and 44 minutes. Yeah, we didn't really talk much about Elvis and Priscilla in the video. And I think the purpose of, like I said, what I wanted to bring to y'all is who Mike Stone wants to be today. He was a different person when he wrote the book. Perhaps, a different person 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, all the way back to being a different person at 10 years old and 5 years old and 15. So I wanted to just, I guess, reintroduce. Well, first off, introduce myself to Mike Stone. He and I are not buddies. We're not friends that have hung out and talked a bunch. We just got to know each other just literally a day before, maybe a day and a half, 2 days before, through Messenger, and then we sat down and had a conversation. At Rebel VGAN 4579. Also, I'd like to add that Mike is a very intelligent and aware man. And I really enjoyed your conversation with him, Joe. Made it to the end, I am. All right, we're starting to see the I ams there. I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on and leaving a comment. Like I said, I appreciate even the negative ones, right? As long as they are not so damaging to the person that they're trying to destroy them, or they're calling them things that they don't deserve to be truly called. There's something in Christianity that my leg was shaking. Sorry. Sometimes it's funny. Same thing. I do the leg thing like Elvis, but Elvis had a whole different thing. I mean, he was like always moving. We watched That's the Way It Is, and he was all over the place the whole taping. But back to the tenet that I was going to talk about. Jesus in the Bible was brought to a woman being stoned, right? Being stoned by a bunch of men. And what he said to them is kind of the same thing I want to say to some of y'all that have very negative comments and negative beliefs. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. I guess that could be applied to everything in life, right? We're not good at doing it. But I think in Mike's, I want to say Mike's defense in a sense, and maybe even in Priscilla's defense in a way. And I know y'all probably cringing me saying that. But if people change after they do something, then yes, there's positivity that can be talked about. If people keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again, I think that there is some judgment that can be had, because it does say judge lest not ye be judged, right? So it's saying that you can, but be careful what you do, what you judge. I'm trying to wait for this comment from Nancy J. Simpson. I think I responded to her to load. There's forgiveness and all that. The negative word, your 6-year-old, is really, really sorry. The drunk driver who ran over your child who was riding his bike is really, really sorry. The man who cheated on his pregnant wife and broke up his family and left 2 small children to be with Priscilla is really, really sorry. And basically what I said was, I think that in the scale of things that we do wrong in this lifetime, those are 3 very different things. They truly are. They're different things, different degrees of wrongness, mistakes. Even though we love Elvis Presley, I think that we all in relationships have hurt people and hurt other people by hurting those people. And that's kind of where I think the level of what happened with Mike Stone and Priscilla was on Mike's side. Mike left the States shortly after. Decided he didn't like who he was. Didn't like the mistakes that were defining him. Didn't like a lot of stuff. And he went to go try to live a different life. I talk about Priscilla all the time in a lot of a lot of books that we're reading, a lot of videos, because she's still making all the same, in my opinion, mistakes. All the same, she's living the same life that she was living. April Madden says, "Hey, I really enjoyed this. Thank you both for the video. That was a magnificent poem, Mike. It needs to be put to a song. I'm so new to all of this, I never fell into hating anyone in Elvis's life. Can't change what happened, so why waste energy on that?" That's well said there. And I think I might have responded maybe to that one or somebody else that talked about it. I'm a songwriter, and that's one of the first things I thought of. I thought, well, you know what? I might need to talk to Mike about turning that into a song, or part of the poem into a song. It is a very, very long poem. And the differences between poems and songs are pretty simple. You can use a couple lines of a poem, and he had a good rhyme scheme. Something has to be a universal idea, which is the chorus. And then you go a couple more lines of the poem, and then the chorus again, the universal idea, which is a repeated phrase, stanza. And then you have a bridge, which is usually a 2 or 4 line, that's a little different melody, back to the chorus, and that's a song. It's hard to turn something that's 16 different stanzas or sections into a song, because you don't have one chorus to go back to that people are to sing. And anyhow, Carol Snyder 778 made it to the end. I am. Hey Carol, thank you so much for coming on here. And that was 2 days ago, so you can see that we're going kind of backwards in time from when the poem got. No, sorry, when the video was released, and I believe that was released on Sunday, I think. Ray Ramos 777 said this was a beautiful, open-hearted conversation. I appreciate that. I'm sure Mike does as well. Bonnie, made it to the end. I am, and appreciate that. That was 2 days ago. So you're seeing overwhelmingly, and I'm not sorting these out to look for negative or positive. I'm going down the line of when they were posted on the video. This is probably one of three because there's a lot of comments and I couldn't get to all of them, or this would be a 2-hour, 3-hour video. Maybe one of 5, I don't know. But I do want to go through all your comments on this video. Janet says, made it to the end, I am. This was very unexpected and I so appreciate your openness and willingness to extend. Uh-oh. Let me see here. We got to wait for a second. I got to reread. All right. I had responded to somebody's comment and it, for some reason, it made the... took it to a different page on what I'm reading. So, made it to the end, I am. This was very unexpected, and I so appreciate your openness and willingness to extend grace to others and creating a safe place, for us to get to see and know the real Mike as he is today. Thank you again. I thank you. I appreciate that. That's a well thought out comment. Paige Marcantel says, sounds like he's reading the book The Secret and is retelling the information in the book. So, I think what I said earlier, or maybe even what I responded to you, was that the concepts that Mike is talking about and teaching has been through the ages. I think he's changed some of the words up. He's talked about, living the life. I am is from the Bible. But yes, martial arts are very disciplined. Middle Eastern philosophies are in there. Christianity is in there. We all come from, I believe, a few people, 1 or 2 people. We all were from the same well, in a sense, and I think that it's not a new philosophy, but it's one that he's trying to retell in a different way, and add his own experiences in. Andreas says, I'm only 38 minutes in so far, and I really like Mike Stone. I didn't expect somebody who thinks this deeply about life and consciousness. Quite frankly, these topics are what Elvis loved to talk about. I'm glad you said 38 minutes in because I think that I mentioned that later on in the video, hour and a half in. That really, maybe even in the closing part of it. Cheryl-Ann, looks like, loved the interview. Or Cheryl-Ann, possibly. Appreciate that, Cheryl. Or Sherry, possibly. Okay. Debbie Clark, 7031. Thank you for this interview. It was very interesting. And I can't wait to hear more. All right, well, great. Well, that's, once again, I have seen these comments. I hearted them. I liked them. And the majority of what I see is very positive. Lynette. Hey, Lynette, Dr. Wall. Or W-A-L. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm so glad you had this conversation with Mike. He has obviously gone through a lot and learned a lot. Who are we to judge? Made it to the end, I am. And in case y'all are wondering, that was the code I gave everybody that made it to the end. It's a concept that is going to be in Mike's next book. I believe it's the 9 Levels of Power, I think it's called. And then Luis, I think it's Lewis, over at Defending Elvis Presley. Hi, Joe. Hope you don't mind me reviewing this interview. Great work, my friend. Appreciate that. I think he must have probably put a phone up and was kind of like going over it and talking about what I said, what Mike said, and what his viewers think. So I appreciate you coming on here, Lewis. At Chanel Falacoa, I truly love the interaction and Mike Stone's story of his journey through time. It's great to get his views. Appreciate that, Chanel. Good to see you again. At Julie Hogan, loved the interview. And then you've got I think a Boomerang. I think you're from Australia, looks like. Maybe. Kangaroos. Boomerang. Am I guessing right? I think I am. At Tracy, maybe Milne or Milne. I made it to the end. I am. It's great. I'm glad you made it all the way to the end. I mean, that means that you caught everything. And I just ask everybody, sometimes these videos are long. I get it. The books we're reading, they're long. Lots of videos. But if you make it to the end of whatever book we're reading, to whatever conversation we're having, you actually have a more informed opinion. And I think it's important we have more informed opinions versus just having an opinion based upon what somebody else thinks or what you saw that might be inaccurate or might be accurate, but it could be inaccurate. Jenny Clark says, it's disgusting to me that so many, okay, so this is my negative one. So many Elvis fans have praised all the people who betrayed him the worst, like the Memphis Mafia, Priscilla, and now Mike Stone, who hurt Elvis more than anyone else and caused the divorce that really led to Elvis's death. A man who said that he never felt guilty about anything he did, and that no one should ever feel guilty about anything they have ever done. You, sir, buying his book and even helping him promote his book, all the people on here making positive comments who claim to be Elvis fans, I've never heard of any of them. Shame on you, Joe, or whatever your name is. Okay, I'm gonna pause this over here and just kind of answer this a little bit. Once again, maybe she's correct. Maybe Mike has said he's never felt guilty about anything he did, and that no one should ever feel guilty about anything they have ever done. If he did say that, if that's in the book that I have that I'm going to read, probably what Mike is trying to communicate, and I think once again, when you look in the past and live in your past and live in all your mistakes, what can you never do? You can, first off, never truly live in the present. You can never move forward. So I think that's probably what Mike, if Mike did say that, I think that's what Mike meant. As for Mike Stone hurting him worse than Priscilla, I'm going to scroll back here. Just curious if that's what I read. Mike Stone, who hurt Elvis more than anyone else and caused the divorce that led to Elvis's death. So first off, Mike didn't cause a divorce, in my opinion. Priscilla, from her own words in her own book, had an affair weeks after having Lisa Marie. She had an actual affair. And the affair means what it is. That's just shortly after giving birth in 1968. Then at the comeback special, she attends the comeback special with the person she's having the affair with. If anybody caused a divorce, it's the relationship between Elvis and Priscilla. In a sense, maybe it just, first off, didn't start out healthy. We all know that. The relationship didn't start out healthy. Whether it's Priscilla pretending to be somebody that she wasn't in order to get Elvis, thinking that she was going to get a rock and roll, very bad boy. In a sense, like Mike Stone was. Mike Stone was a bad boy. And when I say that, I mean talking about American fighter, all this other stuff, and he probably, once again, I have to ask Mike whether he was the nicest, sweetest, kindest guy that was very spiritual back in 1972. I don't think so, by the conversation we had. Elvis certainly wasn't the rock and roller that society, society wanted to lock him up because he was so dangerous and so rebellious. That was what Priscilla, that's all the boyfriends that she dated before Elvis. During the relationship with Elvis, she dated in Germany. They were all bad boys for the most part. She had a type. Mike, if he's listening to this, may be hearing this for the first time. But Mike, I can tell you that, that is the truth. According to hundreds of witnesses, thousands of, hundreds of sources, maybe up to 1,000 sources. That's the truth, that she was into bad boys, and before Elvis, all this other. So regardless, getting back to this point here, Mike Stone didn't hurt Elvis more than anyone else in the world. Certainly not more than Priscilla would have, or the Memphis Mafia if they did. I think that they did betray him and hurt him. But in my opinion, if you love somebody and you can't get through to them, and they truly thought that it wasn't going to be a smear piece, I'm willing to go halfway there and say maybe it was done with good intentions. Billy Stanley, who I have coming on the show tonight, I think is opposed to that. I think that he's very upset, angry still. Those are the kind of things. And then Elvis himself, part of that, yes, he worked a lot. Us as fans are responsible as well. Now, I guess I was alive, but not really. I was 2 years old. But the fans that accepted him as he was, that didn't push for him to change, that loved him no matter who he was, that might have been part of it too. You know, I hate to say the word enabling, but as fans who love Elvis, his music, his spirit, his personality, there was probably some of that affected Elvis. But Mike Stone, I think he was pretty low on the totem pole. I mean, Priscilla was having her affairs long before that. The marriage was over long before that. The marriage was over in 68. It was over in 69. It was over in 1970. It was over. It was over in 71. And I don't remember when Mike Stone got together with Priscilla, but I think it was somewhere around 71. Maybe 72. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play this now because we answered you. And I know you said shame on you, Joe, or whatever your name is. My name is Joe. Sorry you feel so angry. That's really all I can say. But you're entitled to your opinion. I just want you to have an informed opinion. So if you want to truly have an informed opinion, study for 20, 30, 40, 50 hours on who Mike Stone is, who Priscilla is, who Elvis was and and went through and all that stuff, and then come back and look at it from all angles if you can. And if you don't have time, I get it. Colleen Louise made it to the end. Just because someone did something you don't like doesn't mean they will always be that person. Every one of us has done something that didn't sit well with everyone. Now, that doesn't make us a bad person. It just means that we are human and don't always choose the right thing. Well said, I mean, and some of us make mistakes more in the limelight. That's the difficult thing. And that's the dangers of social media. That's the dangers of fame. All these people that are getting on TV and all this other stuff, and their mistakes get magnified, they're glorified, and then they're vilified. In a sense, that's kind of the whole thing back in the days. That is what Mike Stone did have to deal with. And it took over his life, I believe. In my opinion, I don't think he said that to me, but that's how I feel. It took over his life for a while, and he didn't want to be in the Hollywood circle. That is something I have read. Laura Costanzi, 3135, I listened to an interview with Mike Stone many months ago where he told about his life and his affair with Priscilla. He's a wise and kind person that sometimes seems to underestimate himself. I believe he has always been a nice person. Sometimes we ourselves don't realize our value, but others recognize it in us I can't talk. But others recognize it in us instinctively. You are all condemned. You all condemned him is what I think you meant to say. You all condemned him for betraying a friend. Perhaps knowing the truth of the facts will make you change your mind. You cannot sentence a person to life for a common mistake. And I think that you're talking about how Mike said we weren't friends. Elvis and him were not friends. They saw each other 4 times, I believe, and they were pretty much in passing. I believe Mike was invited up to a suite once. Other than that, I think it was very, very in passing the other times. You can't be a friend, a true blue friend. Elvis wasn't a true blue friend of Mike Stone. I mean, they didn't know each other. To be friends, the real definition of a friend. And I think he did answer that in that conversation we had. All right, Lunworks looks like. I wish him the best. We all hopefully grow wiser with age and living right. That's biblical. I saw another interview with him. He and a friend, not sure how old it was, but he was in the same room. I wanted to hear about Elvis's days more. Now I seek my beliefs and my way of life 100% from Christianity. My mistakes were always when I wasn't living as I should have been living in my younger years. I only watched hoping to hear him talk about selling footage instead of returning it to the museum. Under no circumstance does it seem right, but that's just my opinion. I enjoy hearing about years with Priscilla and those years around Elvis. Happy for him in his life now. Okay, and I might have said something briefly, but we didn't really talk about it much. Just that those were probably some of the things that y'all were going to want to know. May God bless him in his life. Sorry, just not why I listened to your channel. I wanted unanswered questions straight from him, not made up lies on the other channels and all this other stuff and in the media. And I believe we're going to talk to Mike more. Real strength is found through Jesus who lives in us and through his teachings by ourselves, Not any of us can do anything. It's a constant struggle between good and evil from the moment we are born, unless we choose to follow a life with Christ. So you're very, very Christian here. You know, everybody has their different beliefs out there. You are Christian. Only through that do we have eternal life. This is biblical. Sorry, it may not be popular, but you have said many times, you are Christian, and as Christians, this is our beliefs. It's so sad people hate him. Hating anyone is just not productive. I think she ate him up. They have totally, I guess I'll have to read that part when it scrolls up. We might be actually getting near the end of this video. So hold on one second. Let me see if I can see what else. All right, they have totally different personalities. And then the last comment here says, made it to the end. Great interview. Thank you both for sharing and teaching. And that's Jolene Chafin 889. So, you know, I appreciate the honest comments, and I always appreciate, in a sense, even the negativity, even the naysayers. I guess that's kind of a Derry Matera thing, and a little phrase that he talks about. And something that Mike Stone said at the very end of our conversation. All the chapters of his book that's going to be coming out at some point, the 9 levels of power, power of the universe, you know, the power of love is, you know, a couple of them. Very last one is the power of fear. Fear and negativity, they're like that, right? Very much. They're of the non-productive scale. But he did say something about how fear is can be a positive thing because it teaches us what we need to work on. It's an interesting way to look at it, and I actually applauded that. And once again, somebody else, everything's been thought of in this world. Doesn't mean that it's been put out at a certain level. And I think Mike's trying to use his influence of what he's done in his past, that's negative and positive, to push out something that he feels strongly about. So I don't think anybody deserves criticism for that. You know, I'm a songwriter. I'm a singer. Elvis was a singer. He wasn't a songwriter, but as a songwriter, everything has been written by somebody in this world, whether you've heard it or not. Almost every line of melody in a song has been written by somebody. But everybody has a unique perspective and way to put things together. You know, and it's funny, maybe it's the ego of me, but I've always, when I write a song, if I think it sounded like something, I just stop it. Now, that doesn't mean that all my songs were not, in a sense, out there somewhere in Thailand, in Cambodia, you know, in Texas, in California, in Canada, you know, in England, in Ireland, in Sweden, in France. You know, that somebody has written a similar melody or exact melody of one of the lines of my songs, or thought the same concept, or had the same exact line. It's bound to happen, right? Billions of people. I would love to think that I am the most special person in the world that can only think of that song. Maybe I'm the person that thought of it at that very second, you know, when somebody else maybe wrote this almost the same thing 50 years ago and didn't ever have anything done with it, never even like did a demo of it, never made a record of it. We don't know. But what Mike is doing, I think, needs to be applauded. Instead of talking about how he's trying to profit and make money, everybody has a right to make money off of their talents and their skills. You know, y'all know I criticize Priscilla very often because I don't feel like she's making any money off of authentic, the best self that Mike talks about. I believe she's still living somebody else's life, somebody else's dream. Her mom's, her dad's, perhaps. The idea of fame, the idea of importance, the idea that she's trying to cement her legacy and be buried in Graceland so people can visit and pay her the respects and homage to Priscilla. It's probably why I'm not, in a sense, so forgiving in a sense, because to me, she still has a lot of learning, I guess, in my opinion, like we all do. But that is where my frustrations come, and I think a lot of y'all's too. And I hope, as we do another comment video on Mike a few days from now, another conversation with Mike hopefully soon, that we continue to see Mike for who he is now. You know, maybe who he's trying to be a year from now, 6 months from now. And also realize that first off, we all make mistakes. We're making mistakes probably today. Probably this week we made something. We've insulted somebody. I can tell you that somebody rolled up next to me the other day on the interstate after about tailgating me, about rear-ending me when I had a UPS truck in front of me about 35, 40 feet, maybe 50 feet. I don't like sitting around on people's bumpers. They're far enough ahead. No way I'm getting past. And she's ramming on the horn and trying to swerve around me. And then she pulls up next to me and gives me the finger. I can't put it up. She gives me the finger, and I've got one of my employees with me. And he's laughing about it, kind of like, where does she think she's going? And instead of me taking the high road, like I frequently do, I would say half the time, maybe 75% of the time, you know what I did? Honk, 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 honk. Hey, look at, I got one too. Okay? Anyways, probably shouldn't have done it, but I think we've all been there. My wife is a road raging driver. That's why she doesn't drive very much. Normally, I stay pretty calm. But sorry, I guess I had to tell myself right there. All right, TCB TLC, I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed reading your comments. And yeah, look for more videos later on today and, of course, this week. And I appreciate y'all keep coming back to the channel, visiting Elvis and the Legends, where I sing a lot of stuff. And I have other videos about the Are You Lonesome Tonight book, some stuff over there, too. All right, we'll be reading some more June Manico and all the other books. And I got at 6 p.m., I'll be having a conversation with Billy Stanley. And that'll be released tomorrow. All right, have a wonderful day. Do something kind for others or yourself. Forgive yourself if you made a mistake. Just try not to do it again if you can, right? You know, like I do feel bad about giving that middle finger up after she gave it to me after tailgating me for 5 miles. Trying to swerve around me and get me in an accident. I guess I should have stayed calmer. And I did kind of do it laughing-wise. I wasn't screaming at her. I was kind of laughing, beeping. But I don't think it matters, right? You know, cheerfully giving it back to him. I don't know. TCB TLC, till next time, this is Rare Elvis Photos and Elvis and the Legends.